Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayan Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Ashtaprayeshu Avadreshu Nityam Bhavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishti. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavad Gita as it is, chapter 11, the universal form, text 49. In text 48, Krishna said, O best of the Kuru warriors, no one before you has ever seen this universal form of mine. For neither by studying the Vedas, nor by performing sacrifices, nor by charity, nor by pious activities, nor by severe penances, can I be seen in this form in the material world. So only by mercy of Krishna one can see that. So text 49. Mate vyatha macha vimudha bhavo drishtva rupam ghoram idrigam edam vyapet bhi prit manah punastvam tadeva me rupam idam prapashya. You've been perturbed and bewildered by seeing this horrible feature of mine. Now let it be finished. My devotee, be free again from all disturbances. With a peaceful mind, you can now see the form you desire. In the beginning of Bhagavad Gita, Arjun was worried about killing Bhishma and Drona, his worshipful grandfather and master, teacher. But Krishna said he need not be afraid of killing his grandfather. When the sons of Dhritarashtra tried to disrobe Draupadi in the assembly of the Kurus, Bhishma and Drona were silent, and for such negligence of duty, they should be killed. Krishna showed his universal form to Arjuna just to show him that these people were already killed for their unlawful action. They will be dead. That's in the universal form he showed them. That scene was shown to Arjuna because devotees are always peaceful and they cannot perform such horrible actions. The purpose of the revelation of the universal form was shown. Now Arjuna wanted to see the four-armed form, and Krishna showed him. A devotee is not much interested in the universal form, for it does not enable one to reciprocate loving feelings. Either a devotee wants to offer his respectful, worshipful feelings, or he wants to see the two-handed Krishna form, so that he can reciprocate in loving service with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, so a devotee is not much interested, but Arjuna wanted to see the universal form for the people to come in the future who ask for who is God and what does God look like, what are his different features. So if somebody says I am God or that person is God, then show me the universal form, Virat Rupa. And also, hey Prabhupada, the devotee is not much interested in the universal form. It does not enable one to reciprocate loving feelings. So obviously, we cannot do arti of the universal form. We cannot offer bhoga to the universal form. If we offer bhoga, one little plate, the universal form, what is it going to do? And definitely cannot have any loving service. Arjuna was afraid seeing the universal form. Nobody is afraid seeing Krishna in two-handed Shyam Sundar form. So that reciprocation cannot happen. Sanjay Vacha, Iti Arjunam Vasudevas Tatotva Swakam Rupam Darshayamasa Bhuya Ashvasayamasa Chabhitamenam Bhutva Puna Somya Vapur Mahatma. Sanjay said to Dhritarashtra, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, having spoken thus to Arjuna, displayed his real four-armed form and at last showed his two-armed form, thus encouraging the fearful Arjuna. When Krishna appeared as the son of Vasudeva and Devaki, he first of all appeared as four-armed Narayan. But when he was requested by his parents, he transformed himself into an ordinary child in appearance. Similarly, Krishna knew that Arjun was not interested in seeing a four-handed form. But since Arjun asked to see his four-handed form, Krishna also showed him this form again and then showed himself in his two-handed form. The word Soumya Vapu is very significant. Soumya Vapu is a very beautiful form. It is known as the most beautiful form. Soumya Vapu, yeah, it is said that. It means most beautiful form. When he was present, everyone was attracted simply by Krishna's form. And because Krishna is a director of the universe, he just banished the fear of Arjun, his devotee, and showed him again his beautiful form of Krishna. In the Brahma Samhita, it is stated, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochane. Only a person whose eyes are smeared with the ointment of love can see the beautiful form of Sri Krishna. So first he showed it four-handed form, from universal to four-handed to two-handed. This is also to show that all these forms reside in Krishna's two-handed Shyamsundar form. This is to show everybody that original is Krishna. From him come all the different expansions or incarnations. But original is Krishna. Arjuna Vacha. Drishtvedam manusham rupam tav somyam janardanam idanim asmi samvrita sacheta prakritim gata. When Arjuna saw Krishna in his original form, he said, "Oh Janardhan, seeing this human-like form, so very beautiful, I am now composed in mind and I am restored to my original nature." Here the words Manusham Rupam clearly indicate the Supreme Personality of Godhead to be originally two-handed. Those who deride Krishna as if he were an ordinary person are shown here to be ignorant of his divine nature. If Krishna is like an ordinary human being, then how is it possible for him to show the universal form and again to show the four-handed Narayan form? So it is very clearly stated in Bhagavad Gita that one who thinks that Krishna is an ordinary person and who misguides the reader by claiming that it is the impersonal Brahman within Krishna speaking is doing the greatest injustice. Krishna has actually shown his universal form and his four-handed Vishnu form. So how can he be an ordinary human being? And that's also true for when we say we all are God. You are God, I am God, we all are God. We have forgotten we are God. And once we realize, then we'll become God. Then if we become God, at least if we cannot show the universal form, show the four-handed form. If somebody thinks Narayan is God, or even if I say I'll become God, like Krishna showed both universal and four-handed forms of Vishnu, and then his original form. So if I become God, then they say, oh, when I become God, then I'll show you my four-handed form. But this is all jugglery of words. Impersonal Brahman is not the ultimate, that we'll see in 12th chapter also. Krishna speaks there. And not that we are all going to become God. That's nonsense philosophy. The original verses of Bhagavad Gita are as clear as the sun. They do not require lamplight from foolish commentators. Shri Bhagavan Vacha Sudur Darsham Idam Rupam Drishtamanasi Janmam Deva Apyasya Rupasya Nityam Darshan Kankshina. The Supreme Personality of Godhead said, "My dear Arjuna, this form of mine you are now seeing is very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking the opportunity to see this form, which is so dear." In the 48th verse of this chapter, Lord Krishna concluded revealing his universal form and informed Arjuna that this form is not possible to be seen by so many pious activities, sacrifices, etc. Now here the word Sudur Darsham is used, indicating that Krishna's two-handed form is still more confidential. One may be able to see the universal form of Krishna by adding a little tinge of devotional service to various activities like penances, Vedic study, and philosophical speculation. It may be possible, but without a tinge of bhakti, one cannot see that has already been explained. Still, beyond that universal form, the form of Krishna with two hands is still more difficult to see, even for demigods like Brahma and Lord Shiva. They desire to see him, and we have evidence in Srimad Bhagavatam that when he was supposed to be in the womb of his mother, Devaki, all the demigods from heaven came to see the marvel of Krishna, and they offered nice prayers to the Lord, although he was not at that time visible to them. They waited to see him. A foolish person may deride him, thinking him an ordinary person, and may offer respect to him. May offer respect not to him, but to the impersonal something within him. But these are all nonsensical postures. Krishna in his two-armed form is actually desired to be seen by demigods like Brahma and Shiva. This is what Krishna is saying. This form, the two-handed form, it's very difficult to behold. Even the demigods are ever seeking an opportunity to see this form. And actually it is by we can say mercy of Prabhupada before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and other acharyas. Because before Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared, the worship of Krishna form, or especially Radha Krishna, it was very rare. Devotees worship Lakshmi Narayan, Sitaram, yes. But Radha Krishna, it was very rare. Very few places we find temples of Radha Krishna. After Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came, and then his six Goswamis, especially the six Goswamis, when they give literature, and the following acharyas, when they give literature about the pastimes of Radha Krishna, about the position of Krishna and the position of Srimati Radharani, this worship became more popular. And Mahaprabhu came, Anarpita Charimachirad, we studied that this love of Radha Krishna that was never given before, Mahaprabhu came to give this. Lakshmi Narayan in South India, we go thousands and thousands of temples. I'm not saying that's not important. There's no, I mean, as a tattva-wise, there is no difference between Krishna and Vishnu. The difference is in the pastimes. The difference is in the reciprocation of love between devotees and Lord. So that is why Mahaprabhu, and after Mahaprabhu, things have really changed. So, but people, it's very hard for them to imbibe this thing. And then foolish people, because 5,000 years ago, Srimad Bhagavatam was compiled, and Krishna's pastimes were given. But people still think he is just an ordinary person. No, how do we even consider him an ordinary person? He's a supreme personality of Godhead. And this is what, of course, all the acharyas, so many acharyas gave the commentaries, but Prabhupada, when he gave his commentary, that we can read, he gave in English, so we can read and really assimilate, because he has given in very simple terms. Others' commentaries are still in Sanskrit, very hard for one to read and understand. So this is all part of Mahaprabhu's Sankirtan movement, Mahaprabhu's mission to spread these teachings all over the world. And when Prabhupada gave his commentaries, and we are studying Prabhupada Lilamrita, in what difficult conditions he was in when he is writing his commentaries, typing his commentaries. It's something Krishna chose him, that yes, through you, I want this to be revealed. Not putting down other acharyas, but everybody is given different realizations, and accordingly they write their commentaries. This is all Krishna's plan. So now through ISKCON and Gaudiya Math also, Krishna in his two-handed form with Srimati Radharani is being worshipped all over the world, all over. And people are learning about Krishna. Who is Krishna? Sometimes people argue, because in another forum this argument is going on, who is supreme, Vishnu or Krishna? And those who are Sri Vaishnava, they always go back to, in Vedas, Krishna is not even mentioned. Radharani is not mentioned in Srimad Bhagavatam. Well, I haven't studied all the Vedas, but they keep on posting. But the point is, this pastime, so this form of Radha and Krishna, again, Mahaprabhu came to give us this love. So they were not mentioned earlier because this is what Mahaprabhu wanted to give. The people, even Krishna's form, they can misunderstand. So what to speak of Srimati Radharani? It's not a mythical figure, or Krishna or Radharani, because the acharyas and Gaudiya Vaishnava acharyas have given tremendous amount of literature. And just because it wasn't discussed before, it's just like Krishna didn't want it to be discussed. So he didn't give this realizations. It's so simple. It's not like somebody is higher or lower in acharyas. It's just he didn't want. Krishna didn't want. Simple as that. And definitely when somebody says ultimate is Brahm Jyoti, Nirakara, Nirvikar, whatever terms they use, their realizations are very low. Brahmeti Paramatmeti Bhagwaniti Shabdete. So they haven't even gone to the level of Paramatma. So what to speak of Bhagwan? And from Bhagwan, Narayan form to two-handed Krishna form, or two-handed Ram form. Even with Lord Ram, wonderful pastimes, and people do develop love for Ram. They are loving reciprocations. And what to speak of Krishna, who has 4 extra qualities than any Narayan feature. This is how he chose to manifest. In Bhagavad Gita, it is also confirmed. Avajananti mam mula manushim tanam ashritam. He is not visible to the foolish person, so deride him. Krishna's body, as confirmed by Brahma Samhita and confirmed by Krishna himself in Bhagavad Gita, is completely spiritual and full of bliss and eternality. His body is never like a material body, but for some who make a study of Krishna by reading Bhagavad Gita or similar Vedic scriptures, Krishna is a problem. Who make a study of Krishna by reading Bhagavad Gita, Krishna is a problem. For one using a material process, Krishna is considered to be a great historical personality and very learned philosopher. But he's an ordinary person, and even though he was so powerful, he had to accept a material body. Ultimately, they think that the absolute truth is impersonal. Therefore, they think that from his impersonal feature, he assumed a personal feature attached to material nature. And that's why Prabhupada said Krishna is a problem. We cannot understand him just by studying Bhagavad Gita on our own. When we study Bhagavad Gita through Prabhupada, then we are approaching him through disciplic succession. Then we understand it properly. Otherwise, they think absolute truth is impersonal. And this is what Mayavadi said. The ultimate is impersonal, and some changes happened in it, and Krishna appeared. What changes happened? They don't know. And in Bhagavad Gita, if Krishna was just some changes happened in Brahm, why did Vedvyasi write Shri Bhagavan Vacha? If Krishna is not Supreme Personality of Godhead, why would he write? This is a materialistic calculation of the Supreme Lord. Another calculation is speculative. Those who are in search of knowledge also speculate on Krishna and consider him to be less important than the universal form of the Supreme. Thus, some think that the universal form of Krishna, which was manifested to Arjuna, is more important than his personal form. According to them, the personal form of Supreme is something imaginary. They believe that in the ultimate issue, the absolute truth is not a person, but the transcendental process is described in Bhagavad Gita, chapter 4. To hear about Krishna from authorities, that is a transcendental process. That is an actual Vedic process. And those who are actually in the Vedic line hear about Krishna from authority. And by repeated hearing about him, Krishna becomes dear. As we have several times discussed, Krishna is covered by his Yogmaya potency. So, like in Ishopanishad, there's also that. The devotee is requesting, please remove your cover potency so I can take darshan of you. But he doesn't remove just for anybody and everything. He's going to remove the covering only for his devotees. He's not to be seen or revealed to anyone and everyone. Only by one to whom he reveals himself can he be seen. Many times people argue, even for smaller preachers like us. People argue, can you show me God? It's such a ridiculous question. I mean, if we are not qualified, how can I show you? God is not my order taker that, okay, you show him this person. Why should he? He is a supreme person. Even to see Prime Minister or President of a country, we have to make so many appointments and go through so many channels. Then we would be able to see. What to speak of God? Even if when we go to the temple, the deities are there, we see the deities, yes. But do we really see God? Or we see just wooden or metal or stone form? For devotees, it's not different. But those who are not at that level, they don't see God, they just see Murti. So the difference is in how do we see. And Krishna is covered by his Yogmaya potency. He only removes it for his devotees. Of course, he can remove it for if the devotee asks that please show the other person your your form. I mean, the Murti, the deity form is the real form. Not saying it's not real, but the darshan doesn't just happen. So only by one to whom he reveals himself can he be seen. This is confirmed in the Vedic literature. For one who is a surrendered soul, the absolute truth can actually be understood. The transcendentalist, by continuous Krishna consciousness and by devotional service to Krishna, can have his spiritual eyes opened and can see Krishna by revelation. Can see Krishna by revelation. Revelation means revealed by Krishna himself. It's not like just because I've been chanting for a few years, then now I'm qualified. Krishna will decide that, not me. Such a revelation is not possible even for the demigods. Therefore, it is difficult even for the demigods to understand Krishna. And the advanced demigods are always in hope of seeing Krishna in his two-handed. Conclusion is that although to see the universal form of Krishna is very, very difficult and not possible for anyone and everyone, it is still more difficult to understand his personal form as Shyam Sundar. It's more difficult. And even more difficult is to understand Srimati Radharani. And on top of it is combined form of Krishna and Radharani, which is Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Can't understand. Although he is most merciful, most munificent, but to understand him is very difficult. Yes, he says, oh, just chant, be part of Sankirtan, and I'll take care of you. That's his mercy. But to understand these forms, oh, very, very. And this is what Krishna forces. Naham vedar na tapsa na dane na chejya shakya evam vido drashtam drishtavanasi mam yata. The form you're seeing with your transcendental eyes cannot be understood simply by studying the Vedas, nor by undergoing serious penances, nor by charity, nor by worship. It is not by these means that one can see me as I am. Krishna first appeared before his parents, Devaki and Vasudeva, in a four-handed form, and then he transformed himself into the two-handed form. This mystery is very difficult to understand for those who are atheists or who are devoid of devotional service. For scholars who have simply studied Vedic literature by way of grammatical knowledge or mere academic qualifications, Krishna is not possible to understand. Nor is he to be understood by persons who officially go to the temple to offer worship. So there's a difference between puja and puja. Anybody can go to, say, any ISKCON temple, any Krishna temple, to offer puja. And the result of puja is they ask for some material benediction. But bhakti is to do service, to please Krishna. Huge difference. They make their visit, but they cannot understand Krishna as he is. Krishna can be understood only through the path of devotional service, as explained by Krishna himself in the next verse. Bhaktya tvananya shakya aham evam vido arjun gyatum drashtum cha tattvem praveshtum cha parantapa. My dear Arjun, only by undivided devotional service can I be understood as I am, standing before you, and can thus be seen directly. Only in this way can you enter into the mysteries of my understanding. So bhaktya to ananya shakya. He clearly says this. There's no other way. Krishna can be understood only by the process of undivided devotion service. He explicitly explains this in this verse, so that unauthorized commentators who try to understand Bhagavad Gita by the speculative process will know that they are simply wasting their time. Of course, they will not admit it, but they should know. No one can understand Krishna or how he came from parents in a four-handed form and at first changed himself into a two-handed form. These things are very difficult to understand by study of the Vedas or by philosophical speculation. Therefore, it is clearly stated here that no one can see him or enter into understanding of these matters. Those who, however, are very experienced students of Vedic literature can learn from him about him from the Vedic literature in so many ways. There are so many rules and regulations, and if one at all wants to understand Krishna, he must follow the regulative principles described in the authoritative literature. One can perform penance in accordance with those principles. For example, to undergo serious penances, one may observe fasting on Janmashtami, the day on which Krishna appeared, and on the 2 days of Ekadashi, 11th day after the new moon and 11th day after the full moon. Of course, Prabhupada only mentioned these 3 days, but there are more days of fasting. But even if somebody does these kind of penances, that's okay. As far as charity is concerned, it is plain that charity should be given to the devotees of Krishna who are engaged in his devotion service to spread the Krishna philosophy or Krishna consciousness throughout the world. Krishna consciousness is a benediction to humanity. Lord Chaitanya was appreciated by Rupa Goswami as a most munificent man of charity because love of Krishna, which is very difficult to achieve, was distributed freely by him. So if one gives some amount of his money to persons involved in distributing Krishna consciousness, that charity given to spread Krishna consciousness is the greatest charity in the world. And if one worships as prescribed in the temples in India, there is always some statue, usually of Vishnu or Krishna. That is a chance to progress by offering worship and respect to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. For the beginners in devotional service, temple worship is essential and is thus confirmed in Vedic literature. Shvetashvatara Upanishad. Of course, temple worship is essential not only for beginners, but for advanced also. That's why all these acharyas, they opened so many temples. But their way of worshipping, their way of service is quite different than people like us when we visit a temple. So, Yasya Deve Parabhaktir, one who has unflinching devotion for the Supreme Lord and is directed by the spiritual master, in whom he has similar unflinching faith, can see the Supreme Personality of Godhead by revelation. One cannot understand Krishna by mental speculation. For one who does not take personal training under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master, it is impossible to even begin to understand Krishna. The word tu is specifically used here to indicate that no other process can be used, can be recommended, or can be successful in understanding Krishna. So this is what Krishna is saying. This verse is spoken by Krishna. So it's very, very difficult. The word na, used repeatedly in the previous verse, indicates that one should not be very much proud of such credentials as in academic education in Vedic literature. One must take to the devotion service of Krishna. Only then can one attempt to write commentaries on Bhagavad Gita. Krishna changes from the universal form to the four-handed form of Narayan and then to his own natural form of 2 hands. This indicates that the four-handed forms and other forms mentioned in Vedic literature are all emanations of the original two-handed form, two-handed Krishna. He is the origin of all emanations. Krishna is distinct even from these forms, what to speak of the impersonal conception. As far as the four-handed forms of Krishna are concerned, it's stated clearly that even the most identical four-handed form of Krishna, which is known as Mahavishnu, who's lying on the cosmic ocean and from whose breathing so many innumerable universes are passing out and entering, is also an expansion of the Supreme Lord, as mentioned in Brahma Samhita. The Mahavishnu, into whom all the innumerable universes enter and from whom they come forth, again simply by his breathing process, is a plenary expansion of Krishna. Therefore, I worship Govinda, Krishna, the cause of all causes. Therefore, one should conclusively worship the personal form of Krishna as a universe, as a Supreme Personality of Godhead. who has eternal bliss and knowledge. He is a source of all forms of Vishnu. He is a source of all forms of incarnation, and he is a original supreme personality of Godhead as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita. So further, Prabhupada is saying about this two-handed form of Krishna and how Krishna is the original. The universal form is not attractive for pure devotees who are in love with the Lord in different transcendental relationships. The Supreme Godhead exchanges transcendental love in his original form of Krishna. Therefore, to Arjuna, who was so intimately related with Krishna in friendship, this form of universal manifestation was not pleasing, rather it was fearful. Arjuna, who was a constant companion of Krishna, must have had transcendental eyes. He was not an ordinary man. Therefore, he was captivated by the universal form. This form may seem wonderful to persons who are involved in elevating themselves by fruitive activities. But to persons who are engaged in devotional service, the two-handed form of Krishna is the most dear. And that's where the difference is. Further, Krishna says, Mat karma krin mat parmo, mad bhakta sang varjita, nirvaira sarva bhuteshu, yasa mameti pandava. My dear Arjun, he who engages in my pure devotional service, free from the contaminations of fruitive activities and mental speculation, he who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being, he certainly comes to me. Nirvaira sarva bhuteshu, sarva bhute, all living entities, not just human beings, all living entities. He certainly comes to me. Anyone who wants to approach the supreme of all the personalities of Godhead on the Krishna Loka planet in the spiritual sky and be intimately connected with the supreme personality of Krishna must take this formula as stated by the Supreme himself. Therefore, this verse is considered to be the essence of Bhagavad Gita. Universal form, last verse. Prabhupada, this is the essence, not Sarvadharman Pratyaja. That is also essence. I'm not saying that. But here, Prabhupada, no, we have never heard of this verse being the essence. But here Krishna is clearly saying, just take up devotion service and free from contaminations of karma and jnana, and who works for me, who makes me the supreme goal of his life, and who is friendly to every living being. He certainly comes back to me. The Bhagavad Gita is meant to show how one can understand his spiritual existence and his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead, and to teach one how to go back home, back to Godhead. Now here is a verse which clearly explains the process by which one can attain success in his spiritual activity, devotional service. So further Prabhupada talks about devotional service. Then it's a long purport, but it's the last verse of this chapter, so I want to complete it. The term Sangha-varjita is very significant. One should disassociate himself from persons who are against Krishna. Not only are the atheistic persons against Krishna, but so also are those who are attracted to fruitive activities and mental speculation. Therefore, the pure form of devotional service is described in Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu as follows. Anya bhilashita shunyam jnana karmadi anavrita anukulena krishnanu shilanam bhaktiruttama. In this verse, Srila Rupa Goswami clearly states that if anyone wants to execute unalloyed devotional service, he must be freed from all kinds of material contamination. He must be freed from the association of persons who are addicted to fruitive activities and mental speculation. When freed from such unwanted association and from the contamination of material desires, one favorably cultivates knowledge of Krishna. That is called pure devotional service. So, anukulasya sankalpa pratikulasya varjana. One should think of Krishna and act for Krishna favorably, not unfavorably. Kansa was an enemy of Krishna's. From the very beginning of Krishna's birth, Kansa planned in so many ways to kill him. And because he was always unsuccessful, he was always thinking of Krishna. But his thinking was not favorable thinking. Thus, while working, while eating, and while sleeping, he was always Krishna conscious in every respect. But that Krishna consciousness was not favorable. And therefore, in spite of his always thinking of Krishna, 24 hours a day, he was considered a demon. And Krishna at last killed him. Of course, anyone who is killed by Krishna attains salvation immediately, but that is not the aim of the pure devotee. Pure devotee does not even want salvation or moksha, liberation. He doesn't want to be transferred even to the highest planet, Golok Vrindavan. His only objective is to serve Krishna wherever he may be. So going by the same logic, thinking favorably, Yashoda Maya, mother of Krishna, pure devotee, obviously. Day of Diwali, Damodar Puja, she tied him up. And he was saying, no, I don't want to be tied up. But it is considered topmost devotion service because it increases the love between Yashoda and Krishna. Although it may seem like unfavorable service, it was completely favorable. So, so that is the point. We have to read scriptures, understand scriptures through acharyas. And somebody can say, oh, Kansa was always thinking of Krishna, but he wasn't thinking favorably. So it's not considered devotional service. A devotee of Krishna is friendly to everyone. Therefore, it is said here that he has no enemy, nirvaira. How is this? A devotee situated in Krishna consciousness knows that only devotion service to Krishna can relieve a person from all the problems of life. He has personal experience of this, and therefore he wants to introduce his system, Krishna consciousness, into human society. There are many examples in history of devotees of the Lord who risked their lives for the spreading of God consciousness. The favorite example is Lord Jesus Christ. See how Prabhupada is talking about Jesus Christ, how favorably and how reverentially. He was crucified by the non-devotees, but he sacrificed his life for spreading God consciousness. Of course, it would be superficial to understand that he was killed. Well, yes, in Christianity, they say he resurrected or came back. But whether he did or whether he didn't, I don't know. But point is, as a pure devotee of Krishna or God, because he didn't say Krishna, he said God, he cannot be killed by non-devotees until God wants to use him as an example. Similarly, in India, also there are many examples, such as Thakur Haridas and Prahlad Maharaj. Why such risk? Because they wanted to spread Krishna consciousness, and it is difficult. A Krishna conscious person knows that if a man is suffering, it is due to his forgetfulness of his eternal relationship with Krishna. Therefore, the highest benefit one can render to human society is relieving one's neighbor from all material problems. In such a way, a pure devotee is engaged in the service of Krishna. Now we can imagine how merciful Krishna is to those who engage in his service, risking everything for him. Therefore, it is certain that such persons must reach the supreme planet after leaving the body. Then Prabhupada gives us little summary, paragraph or summary of this chapter, and then thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport to the 11th chapter of Srimad Bhagavad Gita in the matter of the universal form. So we'll stop here, and next Sunday we'll start chapter 12. See anybody has any questions or comments.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Nice class after so many days.
I know so many. And because it comes once a week, then it becomes a very long gap.
Hmm.
Yeah. Chalo, you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhuji. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
You